Thank you for tuning into An Audience With. I'm Chloe, and today we have Sound Recordist Nigel Batting. Welcome, Nigel.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
So, Nigel, can you begin by describing the job of a sound recordist? What do you do and what are you responsible for?
So it's a small TV crew that I'm usually part of. I'll be part of what's called a PSC crew, which used to be portable single camera, but it refers to a small television crew doing mostly documentary and small films, short films. But as a sound recordist, it's usually one camera man or woman, one sound person, and a director or producer. That's kind of the setup.
What sort of equipment do you use?
I've usually got a portable mixer in a bag, which hangs in front of me like this. It's a 6-channel mixer and records to itself with timecode, and with it, a radio mic set, which allows me up to 6 radio mics.
What would you say your favourite microphone is and why?
Favourite microphone? Yeah, I've got a favourite microphone. It's a Sherp CCM 41, and it's a boom mic. Well, I use it on a boom, but it's very small. It's about this short and the same diameter as the boom that you'll all be familiar with. And it has a pickup pattern, which is sort of a hemisphere, a cardioid pattern, unlike a traditional shotgun, which is quite pointy, and you use it to reduce background noise around you.
How many audio channels do you prefer to record with?
That totally depends on how many people and the scenario. Usually if I'm doing an interview like this, obviously behind camera but I'd be using a boom and a mic like this, or a clip-on here. So that would be 2.
Can you tell us about the different types of projects you work on?
Well, yeah, mostly documentary. Mm-hmm. I do occasionally ITV This Morning, daytime. They're VTs, which are the location work. So they'll record those. They're very rarely live. I do occasionally live feeds for competitions and things. But yeah, usually documentaries.
What would you say is the most unusual location you have filmed in?
I did a series a couple of years ago, in fact, just before COVID, with Richard Hammond, and it was called Big. And the locations on that were pretty crazy. We were on the biggest container ship in the world, filming that around the Netherlands, off the coast. We went up the Burj Khalifa Tower, in Dubai, and various other locations on that. That series particularly took us all over the world in some strange places. I was up a volcano a month ago.
Oh, wow.
Actually, in Chile. That was pretty cool.
What was that for?
That's another documentary. It's not out yet, so I can't say, but okay. I'm allowed to say I went up a volcano.
Okay. And the next question is, have you ever met anyone famous? But
fairly regularly, yeah. You're working with well-known faces, be it for This Morning, daytime, might be someone plugging a film and you're filming their junket, or it might be just the presenter in a documentary. Yeah, it could be anyone. But most recently, met Baz Luhrmann a couple of weeks ago, the director of Elvis and Moulin Rouge.
Yep.
Yeah.
When did you first think of becoming a sound recordist?
Actually, I was quite late to it. I was about 30, so about 20 years ago. I had a change of heart, age 30, and went back to college, studied sound, and yeah.
What filmmakers inspire you?
I've always loved the Coen brothers. Any Coen brothers film. Wes Anderson, Baz Luhrmann. A lot of directors.
Why do they inspire you?
Well, Wes Anderson is just works of art. I tend to be drawn to films where the visuals are strongest. The fact that I do sound is irrelevant, but where the kind of film where every frame you could hang on the wall as a picture. So the Coen brothers often are.
Yeah. Nice. What would you say is the most difficult thing about being a sound recordist?
The most difficult thing is, I guess, probably dealing with background noise. Speak of the devil. So when you're doing an interview, it's important that the background noise is silent, and so when there are noises that stop the interview but are outside your control, maybe someone with a leaf blower, or a lawnmower or something that you can't get access to stop. But
yeah. What obstacles have you faced in your career, and how have you overcome them?
Well, as a freelancer, you're always faced with lean times. Occasionally the industry isn't as healthy as it is now. I mean, with all the streaming services, film and TV is as busy as I've ever seen it in 20 years. It's a really good time to get into it. The drama side is going off at the moment. So I say, going back 10 years ago, there were times when it was a bit leaner and a bit quiet. So you do wonder about, am I going to work again? You're waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah. What piece of work are you most proud of?
I'd have to think about that. Well, the series with Richard Hammond was very good. That was kind of ticked all the boxes for me of interesting locations. A lot of people were familiar with him, so you tell people and it's like, oh, yeah, I know that. But mainly the interesting locations. I was pretty proud of that one.
Is sound important?
Absolutely. I'd have to say that.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely is. If you're watching a film, maybe a low budget or we'll take a student film, for instance. The first things that stop you, that basically take you out of the magic of the film, is if something's out of focus or if the sound's wrong. Those are the two unforgivable things as far as they'll snap you out of being engaged with the film.
Yeah.
So sound is key. You need to be able to hear what people are saying, and the shots need to be sharp.
What advice would you give to someone starting out in sound recording?
First of all, give yourself a pat on the back, because that's a good thing to do. Same with any filmmaking, any aspect of filmmaking. Just to do it in your spare time as a hobby is really helpful. So I started off recording music, recording bands, and then sort of evolved into film and then TV. But I would say, just do it in your spare time. Either film things even with your phone and record things, record the sounds, and maybe put them on your computer or your laptop and just change them around, edit them, repeat things, loop things, muck about with it, basically.
So what would be a typical day of a sound recordist?
A typical day? It would totally depend on the type of work. So if it was a daytime TV live segment, then basically you'd probably start 2 or 3 hours before the live slot, which might only be 5 minutes at midday, say.
Yeah.
So you'd practice everything, rehearse it, and make sure it's all, do everything you can to make sure it's going to work. But basically you start off with a cup of tea or coffee, a donut maybe, and then you would just, while the cameraman or woman is setting up their equipment, you'd be unpacking out of the flight cases and setting it up, and it's pretty much ready to go, and it needs 5 minutes setting up. But basically just preparing, maybe running through like a rehearsal. And then if it's a live job, you get a countdown and you do your recording, and like these guys who are filming this, once it's over, and you've probably got an early finish to the day. If it's a normal recorded interview day, say, for instance, then I'll be setting up, often helping the camera person lighting. I'll be maybe 2 or 3 hours, we'll be setting up for an interview, and then recording an interview for however long that takes, and then packing up. And if it's a short day, then that's that. If it's a longer day, then you might have to do it all over again in another location. But it's usually a 10 or 12-hour day, that kind of thing.
Would you say there's any difference between scripted and unscripted sound recordings when you work on them?
Very good question. Yes. Yeah, there are. Yeah. I'm really talking about things from my background, which is mostly documentary, reality, and daytime. And those kind of things, they're unscripted, so you don't really know what's going to be said. So you have to be ready for any event, really. They might be moving around or not, or they might be wearing something that's noisy or not. You have to be kind of ready. Whereas in scripted drama, film, you can see the costume before, you can see them rehearsing a shot. You know exactly what's going to happen, and you can take precautions. You can move a mic a bit closer, or you can maybe change something about where the boom is going to be. There's time to change things, whereas in unscripted, there isn't really, and you have to sort of go on the fly.
Yeah. How do you think sound recording has evolved over the last few years? It's quite slow to evolve, actually, since the move to digital. Well, that would be the biggest one, is moving from analog to digital, which happened 15 years ago, probably. That was the single biggest change and improvement in video and audio, in my opinion. Some people hark back to analog. But I would say more recently, there's floating bit technology, which digitally allows a lot more headroom, endless, really, combinations. Yeah, I would say the fact of the physics of sound, you have to have a microphone near to the source. That's never going to change. That's something that's going to be fixed throughout filmmaking, I think, which is good, because that means someone needs to do that, put that mic on, and that's a job for me and us, who else goes into it. When I started 20 years ago, I did a short film on 1/4-inch reels using a Nagra recorder. People have real affection for them, and they're great. Using this reel-to-reel tape to record dialogue on set. It was really interesting, and I'm really pleased I've caught the tail end of that. But at the end of the day, you had a stack of tapes like this. Yeah.
And you can imagine a week, times that by 5. Feature film, you've got a carload, a van load of tapes, in theory.
Yeah.
They get reused. But so moving on to a little SD card, which is what I use now, is a big step, I think.
Yeah. How do you think it might evolve in the next few years?
Well, with the bit float technology, that's probably going to come more to the fore. I've yet to adopt it. It's 2023, and it's not knocked on my door yet. Who knows? It's difficult to say. I know with video, it's expanding as far as multi-sensor cameras, which focus in all planes. That's really exciting. Sound-wise, apart from maybe the equipment coping with more channels and being smaller and lighter and more mobile, less battery hungry, these are all things that hopefully will improve. But nothing major. I can't see anything revolutionary on the horizon.
Yeah. Have you been surprised by any of the end mixes on the things you've worked on?
So seeing a program go out and wondering why they've used that sound and not the other sound. Yeah, that has happened, but it's usually a matter of maybe time in the edit, or if it's maybe a live production, they may have used a different channel than I was expecting. But basically, if I'm using a boom overhead and a lavalier clip-on mic, maybe, and I think one sounds better, but they've used the other one. That might be the only surprise. Other than that, maybe editing out what
questions that I thought were brilliant, or answers I thought were brilliant from certain people, but not too many surprises, happy to say.
Do you ever go out and record like wild track or ambience?
Yes, that's an everyday task with wherever you are.
Yeah.
If you're recording an interview in a room, it's important to get 30 seconds to a minute of that dead sound of the room, of the space. It's called Atmos or wild track or room tone, depending where you are in the world. Americans call it buzz track for some reason. But wild tracks in particular, if I'm doing a documentary, say, throughout the weeks of filming, I'll keep a list of sound effects that I've recorded. So I might be the sound of traffic at a junction where someone was doing a piece to camera. We've all seen those. You can imagine Brian Cox, the cosmologist, talking, on a mountaintop, say, so they can edit his piece to camera, his dialogue. It's important to have a static sound of the background noise. What your ears are sensitive to are changes in background noise. So by recording wild track, you're giving the editor a valuable tool of just constant background noise that he can then lay the dialogue over.
Do you have any advice for people out there that are making short films?
Yes, loads, actually.
Okay.
So have you got half an hour or an hour?
Yeah.
Only that it's surprisingly important. People often value the video imaging first, but the first thing you notice when the sound isn't good is not being able to hear what people are saying clearly. So I would say just really value the sound on a student film project, for example. Value the sound equally to the picture and give it due consideration, to get as crisp an audio and as nicely audible dialogue as possible.
So where is your job taking you next?
I'm happy to say I'm going to LA tomorrow.
Oh.
So I'll be filming for a week, and then I'm back for a day, and then I fly to Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
So
Very busy.
it's a particularly busy time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. Making hay while the work's there.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. We're now going to take some questions from the audience.
Very good.
Have you met any really famous musicians from any genre?
Just before Christmas, I worked on the Rolling Stones documentary for BBC. So we did Keith Richard, spent the day with him, and then the next day with his guitar tech. That was amazing to meet the man, the legend. But yeah, that was a pretty cool job.
What difficulties did you experience with sound recording?
Well, as far as actually recording sound, it's usually finding a quiet space that's non-reflective, not echoey, so quite a dead sounding space. But dealing with background noise is an everyday thing. Finding somewhere quiet, either or maybe putting blankets up against windows to reduce background noise. All that stuff is a daily thing.
Who inspired you to do what you do?
My first inspiration was a sound engineer in a studio. So I was recording a friend's band. They were doing a demo in a studio in Tower Bridge, and the recording engineer was just a dude. He taught me so much just hanging out for about a week. They were recording there. And every day he just inspired me with learning the mixing desk and sparing his time to talk me through it. So that led me to go and study it full time for a year.
What might be something that doesn't necessarily very obvious to take into account when you're planning to do a sound recording?
So I'm starting a job where we've got a different location every day for interviews, and I've got to basically listen to a video taken, and it's difficult to tell, but you get an idea of from another country what the room is going to be like from this video that the location scouts are doing. So the thing to look for is a quiet background, basically. So not near a road, not near a railway, not on a flight path. All these things could scupper an interview or at least delay it severely. So you can get by with some background noise, especially if it's constant, if there's a constant hum of traffic in the distance. But when you've got a siren or something, or if there are loud motorbikes or scooters, you often get, it can really distract from what someone's saying and therefore make it kind of unusable. So you have to pause and wait or move somewhere else.
Okay, thank you for being here today, Nige.
Thank you for letting me speak to you. It's been really interesting and fun.
And thank you to the audience for joining us in an audience with.